All right, so we just finished the Lovecraft season one finale, and I mean, just off the bat, I was underwhelmed. But how'd you feel, James?
Believe it or not, I was underwhelmed too. I
Under-
was like expecting this big thing, and I'm a little upset, but it's all good.
well, a lot of stuff happened, so I'll just go down a little bit of what happened right here. You know,
Uh-huh.
they get thrown into the ancestral plane and spirit plane, and after Tick unbound, that's how they help heal D. Letty is now the protector of the book. Tick remained the savior, so that was a half a wrong
Yes.
for us because you were saying that possibly Letty would be the one, but she is technically, but he was the savior fully. But you did predict correctly that there'd be a shit ton of fire.
Yeah, but it did fall off. Like I said, I know. I was just gonna say, yeah, but Letty, I mean, it was a woman's world. Like I said, it was gonna be that woman's moment, and it totally was. It was the mother, the great grandmother, and the great ancestor, with that there. So that definitely went through. And then being that she was carrying the legacy was already built, being that Letty was already pregnant. So Tick had it. Didn't Tick? We didn't need a Tick. He, I mean, for his bloodline, yeah, but he didn't need to survive.
Yeah.
So
Obviously,
that
obviously,
that
they didn't tell the whole story, so you can see that, and that's why he said the mantras at the end. You wouldn't understand, but he was the ultimate savior. But then you had that side portion where Letty also was a big savior. You see,
well, yeah.
maybe he dropped some M bombs for posterity. Then he goes away when the ancestors get him out of there. Christina takes Letty's invulnerability tattoo away, her little brand, but obviously we see what happens near the end. Ruby finally goes full lesbian with Christina, but she's dead now. So and that she's dead now because she became a good sister and tried to help out Letty. And you see that when the binding triangle's getting finished at the bridge. We did predict Hippolyta would beat some ass, and we saw some of that. So we saw her beat that.
She come on, Wonder Woman. Shout out to that. Shout out to the Hippolyta. I mean, even that the confidence that she had and explaining of who she was and that whole I am, which goes back to one of the other episodes. I think it was 7 or 8. Just going back to those episodes there, talking about who she was and what she could do, and she can do anything. So so shout out to her with that. We got our battle on the bridge. We predicted that. You said there was gonna be some kind of something on the bridge. Yeah. So we definitely got the battle on the bridge. So very happy about excited. I mean, there was some good parts of that. I just think that the storyline got lost, and it was like, okay, like it was a lot of confusion. It was like, what the hell does this have to do with anything that you guys were talking about in the last 9 episodes? I mean, this one was, I thought it was going to try to come all together for me. And there were pieces that were, but like the whole ghost thing, like I really wish they would have expounded more on that. And really, I can't think of the white guy. I can't think of his name right now, but which one?
Titus.
Yes, Titus. I mean, we talked about him a little bit in the first thing, but he seemed upset for some other reason. And why were they still alive? But why were they still alive? I didn't understand that. So like they weren't dead. I understand the black people were held in that house for protection, but I didn't understand like where he came from. So that was kind of and they killed him. So how do you kill somebody who's already dead?
Well, I think that was part of the spell to release their energy, and that's the thing.
Okay.
Like it's probably a part of that binding spell that was at the end that they didn't tell anyone about. You just don't know because that's an open-ended part of the story. And people will be like, I want to know the answers, but you could just use your imagination and get over that. But, you see Letty go off, and then Letty comes back when Christina's getting the beginning portions of the immortality spell, which leads the whole transference thing. Whatever they did before led to Letty getting her invulnerability portion back once Christina got the immortality. So, because at the same time, when you see the whoosh going to Christina, that's when Letty pops up. And I guess the big thing a lot of people be happy about is, you see Dee get that robot arm, at the end, and she ends Christina.
Yes.
Dying,
So
obviously.
what was
What'd you say?
question? So what was that? What was the robotic arm? What does that lead to?
I mean, I was just
Or does that say
on the vision from before in the earlier episodes. People were like, "Oh, well, how's she gonna get that?" You saw that in the future. It was like, well, yeah, she's gonna get it. Obviously, Hippolyta built that for her because she has that knowledge to do so. Because you saw her have the rotten arm earlier in the episode. They just didn't show you her using that arm for her. But that's obviously what happened. If you use your imagination, I mean, we don't know. Maybe it was something else.
You have to remember she also remember Hippolyta can go into different universes, like and different worlds. So she learned from.
Yeah, she probably didn't do a good episode though. She probably built it there because she knew how from her travel from before. But yeah, like for the most part, like I said, underwhelmed. I didn't really have a problem with anything they did. I felt it was a little heavy on exposition. Like they were just explaining stuff. It felt rushed. But no matter what, they ended it. Like the story's over. Tech's dead. Ruby's dead. Christina's dead. White people don't have access to magic anymore, and the Friedman family is safe. So everything that they were trying to do got closed out.
They did.
And the other people that were really going along are gone. So, like after watching, I was like, I don't know why they would do a season 2 unless they want to do some like crazy J.J. Abrams, like just off the wall craziness. Or you could go like the route of like American Horror Story and just do a different story with a different character.
Just do different. Yeah, that's what I see it as. I see it as going to American Horror Story and just doing a complete different season, like a different book, a different thing. The only way that I can see them continuing it is Dee, like the character Dee.
Yeah, Dee. That's absolutely.
So I can see Dee. Maybe Dee finding the strength within, of that there. But I mean, it did end. Like it did end. It did seem rushed, especially with these chapters. Like, would have just, it should have been maybe one chapter, or made this chapter, instead of being an hour, make it 2 hours. And just kind of don't rush it, because it seemed certain part, because it was literally 2 parts to this one. Like it was a lot of dialogue it was very dialogue heavy at the beginning, and it really wasn't. And they were trying to get this sense of family, and I do get that. And then it gave this kind of action thing that came out of nowhere. So it was almost like 2 stories, but I just think that one didn't finish and one didn't pick up, to where, they're like driving the car singing shebang, shebang. And then it goes to something else. I just wish that it was an easier transition.
Yeah.
With like going from Chicago to Artem. And I see that they tried to do it. They tried to play the 2 different parts, but I don't think that it played. And I do feel that it was a lot of stuff cut out. You can tell it was cut and pasted, and it probably did run long. And then the problem is when you're editing, the filmography, when you get into film, is that when you have an hour to meet, and now this is the last chapter, so there is no more after that. So now in the editing room, I feel like they were like chopping up scenes in the editing room, where they just tried to put it all together and make it, and make it work. So that was a little, that was interesting. You know what I'm saying? That was interesting to watch. And I said, they do that with a lot of shows. And that's one thing that I don't like, is like, you took us on this great, amazing journey. And then, it was well thought out. And I get that it was different parts and different chapters. We didn't mind that. But then this last thing here, it was like a hodgepodge of just random scenes that, you guys shot. There was a rumor going out that was the show off, the monsters.
Yeah, the show gone.
Yeah, they said that those were supposed to have been spirits or something like that. So I read one where one was supposed to have been George or Tick or something like that, you know what I mean? And there's supposed to be this whisper that I never heard, but there's supposed to be this whisper that everybody was talking about. And so, I mean, do we get a section with that? Why did the show guard be with D? You know what I mean? Like, where did that come from? We never got an explanation to that. You know, why could she control this one but not the other ones? And was this one like the major show? You know what I mean? Was this, you know, a major show up there? So like I said, yes, it did have an ending. It had a conclusion. I can go to sleep at night and say, okay, it's over, it's done. But I just feel that it should have been a smoother transition. Like, they should have, you know, if you guys want to have all this dialogue and talk, you know what I mean? Like, you know, let us go through that.
Yeah, I definitely, I feel the same way. Like, it was that the plot points were there. They just felt rushed and stuff. I always think, you know, after watching it, I said it depends on what you're watching this show for, because I'm definitely watching a lot of things for different reasons than other people. But watching this, I'm more the fantasy, supernatural fan, looking for those elements of the show. The things they really did do well, though, are those emotional points. I thought those were still there and they were still hitting. I just don't gravitate to those as much. So I'm looking at the plot points, period. And while those are sprinkled in and you see those happening, it still didn't save the episode. But there was a lot of that going on. You know, you had the scene with Hippolyte and Dee. You had talks with, you had Montrose trying to wake up Tig. You had the talk with Letty and Dee. There was a bunch of stuff that was happening.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be that emotional pull for you. And I can see that some people will think this episode is still brilliant. And then there's going to be people that think it's trash. I don't think it's trash. I think it's right there in the middle. It's just okay. And the one, at least they did their job. They closed out the story. I don't have any questions, really. The questions I would have would be about little things like you mentioned, like who's the Shoggoth, you know, stuff like that. Like, they decided they were gonna like pull the little switcheroo with the spell, which obviously he kind of told Montrose that's what they did. But I mean, good ending, okay ending, probably. That doesn't like tarnish the show.
Okay.
It's just, hey man, this ending could have been different, but at least now I would be completely fine. If this would have came out and been a banger, like amazing, like season 1 ender, they left stuff open, then I'd be like, okay, season 2 is probably a necessary.
Season 2, yeah.
I don't think it's necessary now.
No, it definitely doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to season 2. And just to back up what you said, like, so one of the reasons why I watch the show, some of the heartstrings, I do get that there. But my thing was more the history aspect and, you know, the balance of history. And that's the one thing that I feel that a lot of our fans, you know, are going to miss, is that there was no history reference in this at all. I mean, the Duke Hotel, kind of important. With that there, and I think this was kind of the payback, you know, so all white people, you know, can't have magic now, so, you know, they can't destroy us. But I just feel that they lost the mark. Like, literally every single episode basically had like a historical point of reference that happened, you know, in Chicago or something like that. And this episode,
they're closing it out, so you got to imagine that would just get in the way. So
yeah.
At that point,
like I said, a lot of it was just, you can tell that it was like, okay, wrap up, you know, production's over it, you know, cut paste, and you do see that because even in some of the scenes, I felt that the acting wasn't even there. You know what I mean? Like, it was like all of a sudden, like Letty just kind of changed. You know, like there was certain scenes where it didn't follow through. You know what she did. There was actually like between her and her sister. Like, you can tell it took some time with that. And then it was just something where like Jurnee Smollett wasn't. It wasn't connecting for me. You know what I mean? It really wasn't connecting for me, and that's why I think that I did lose some of those emotional parts. It was good, but then some of those emotional parts you can tell like this was cut and paste. You know, cut paste scene. Overall, would I watch it? It was a good series. It doesn't tarnish it doesn't tarnish the series. I'll watch the last episode again. Maybe I'll get something out of there that I didn't see. My initial reaction, a little bit underwhelmed, but it did finish. You know what I'm saying? The story did finish. Excited that I got introduced to Lovecraft. Like, now everybody wants to go read the book. So It did what it was supposed to do. So I say, hey, listen, go watch the entire series, not based on this one episode.
Yeah. My final question. I saw some people saying this nonsense. Is it as good as Watchmen?
No.
Okay. I think we close out there. We agree on that. It is not as good as Watchmen, but it's still a good show. You know, we might have some talks about this later. Guys, let us know what you thought about the finale. You think it was great? You thought it was excellent? You thought it was trash? You thought it was okay? Like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.